101.5 FM, that's Johnny Taylor, and Johnny will be part of the whole festival happening down there at Broadbeach, kicking off tomorrow. Now, you've got a funny story about Johnny?
Well, I was talking about last time we were talking to him, I said, he should go, we're all talking about merchandise, and, if you've already got the albums, what do? What else can we buy? So I thought, well, let's go the stubby coolers and, the hats and all that sort of stuff. Well, it's winter, so I thought, what about the Johnny Taylor onesie? Because the onesies are a huge thing at the moment. So we thought about that, and I had a bit of a chat to Johnny the other day, and he hasn't quite got a Johnny Taylor onesie yet, but he was pretty cold because he's done the big trek across, I think he was going through the Nullarbor when I spoke to him. It was pretty cold out there, and he said, well, I don't actually have the onesie, but I do have the thermal long johns with the thermal shirt tucked in so it looked like a onesie.
Oh, good.
So it has a bit of a onesie look-alike.
Well, our guest in the studio tonight, it's lovely to catch up with her finally here in the studio. Caught up with her at the Urban Country Music Festival. She's a superstar, taking off right around the place. It is fantastic, and we're looking forward to finding out a little bit more about her. And I speak, of course, of Jen Myers. Welcome, Jen.
Hi. Thanks, Darren. Thanks, Tracy, for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
And what a gorgeous accent. You always carry on when your Canadians come over. Hi, I'm Dean Brody. I'm Joe Nichols, everything. Let me tell you, Jen's just got a gorgeous accent.
Well, I'm glad you like my accent because I can't change it. No. I've tried. And I just sound silly.
Doug Bruce said the same thing. That was his last album, last song, Made That Way.
Yep.
How come you people going up to him, hey, mate, how come you sing like an American? He said, well, I was made that way.
I was made that way.
Yeah, so it's pretty clever.
So, Jen, how long have you been here in Australia?
It's been about 6 years that I've been living in Oz, and it's all been in this area. The first place I moved to was Morayfield, so, yeah. I came here directly. Used to live on Amy Street in Morayfield, and then lived on Bribie Island for a little bit, and now we're in Glasshouse Mountains.
Beautiful part of the world, isn't it?
I love it. It's so
lovely.
Beautiful.
Now, back home in the States, you grew up just on the outskirts of Las Vegas.
I did.
In Nevada. So does the Nevada desert get cold in the outside of it?
It does in the winter. A lot of people are under the assumption that you go to Vegas, it's going to be hot all the time. No, the winters are actually fairly bitterly cold. I mean, with the wind chill, that's the thing, is it gets windy out in the desert. So it'll get down to about 40 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 6, 7, and then a wind chill of another good or 6, down to 0.
Down to freezing
Easy,
point,
easy. Plus there's snow all around the mountains. It's like a valley. So, yeah, it gets cold out there.
Now, I can't remember if I asked you last time we were chatting. We've got a lot of our artists that go over to Canada and that, and they're made very welcome when they go over there and they go over to Nashville and all that sort of stuff. How have the Australians been welcoming your music here in Australia?
It's been pretty good. I don't really have any complaints. Everybody's just been so lovely. I think what's funny about my whole musical journey is that I actually needed to move to Australia to become an Americana artist, to become an artist that, really, my music kind of just harkens back to that American roots music heritage. And I had to move to Australia to find that in me. I had to get a little bit homesick, just that tiny bit. I love Australia. I love living here. But, you're always going to miss that place that you call home. And so certain places really stick with me, and then you write a song about that, and then it comes out, sounding like an Appalachian tune, and you're like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's me.
I think some people would probably think when you say growing up in Vegas or on the outskirts of Vegas that's closer to the West Coast than the downtown Nashville, Texas, what we normally expect from country music. How did your involvement in country music evolve?
I did grow up in Las Vegas. All my family's from the Deep South, though. So nobody really is originally from Las Vegas. That's how that works. All my family is from North Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee. And I grew up on a horse property in Las Vegas. So, I literally grew up. My dad worked at the Eldorado Rodeo, which is now National Finals Rodeo, and was an elk. And I went to the Elks Lodge every weekend. And my first job was in rodeo, like my first paid job. I was putting, calves in chutes for calf roping, and it was a little rodeo right behind my house. I could just walk to it. So you know, my dad got me listening to Willie Nelson at the tender age of 3. Like, the first song I ever learned was Blue Skies, Willie's version of Blue Skies. So, yeah, and I mean, he was really very, he was really important in my musical upbringing. My dad was a big music fan, and he played records all the time. So, I mean, I got everything from Willie and Johnny Cash and Patsy Cline all the time to The Who and Led Zeppelin and classic rock. So I kind of had a wide base. And then as soon as country took that new country kind of turn, my dad was right there listening to all of Garth Brooks, and that's what I grew up with that, just as much as like the pop thing was always around, but the country has always been there. And you know, you find when you get older, you hearken back to, you go, oh, who's the real me? Oh, this is the real me.
Well, you mentioned Led Zeppelin. I mean, if it's good enough for Robert Plant to now be a country music singer, I mean, it's good enough for anyone, isn't it?
He's as Americana as they come with Band of Joy and that Alison Krauss record. So, yeah, the Raising Sand record that T-Bone Burnett produced is amazing. So if Robert Plant can do it, yeah, why not?
Now, you mentioned The Real Me. Now, last time we had you in the studio, I hadn't heard you live. I'd only heard the tracks coming off the album. We've sort of gone through them a few times now. But then we caught up with you out at Urban Country, and you're on the veranda at the pub there. And the way you... Oh, look, it's really hard because I love the songwriters in the round. I love sitting there watching the songwriters because they really tell us a story. But when you're singing your songs, you've got the same feeling on your album as well. And that's really, really hard to do, because a lot of albums, you know, we listen to a lot of albums and something that's a good song, but we really don't get it until we actually see the artist live. Where this album, I found a lot of the songs we do get them straight up. So
that's good.
Yeah. So I don't know whether that was something you were going for, or whether it is that the missing home part, or what was in there.
I think it could be a little bit of the missing home part, but I got really lucky to work with some really great people on this album, and we all kind of sat down and, you know, had a very much eye-to-eye conversation about what we were looking to get out of this record. And I think, you know, I went through each song with a guy named Mark Schultez, who's a songwriter and dual ARIA-nominated songwriter in Australia. And he's become kind of a songwriting buddy pal of mine that I can bounce things off of. So we went through every song with a fine-tooth comb to make sure it was as succinct and clear as possible about what we were talking about. Even if we're using metaphor, we still want people to understand it, and then take the production down that road as well. You know, if it's Ghost Town and we're talking about the desert, and I want some, you know, really eerie pedal steel in there to make you feel like you're in this Wild West time, and it's deserted, and you're out there with the tumbleweeds. Like I like the production to go with the visual of the lyric. And so we worked really hard at getting that to be that way. So if that's how you're feeling, then maybe we did a good job.
Yeah. Well, the first one we're going to play is Cottonwood Grove. So tell us a little bit about that one before we kick it off here.
Okay, Cottonwood Grove is inspired by a place that I used to go camping with my family all the time. In Zion National Park, there's the Virgin River that runs through the park. And cottonwood trees always grow next to a source of water out there in the desert. So you can be sure that there's like a bend in a creek or a river or a billabong kind of thing, and everybody just goes swimming, and it's like a beautiful summer swimming. It's got a little bit of a skinny dipping reference, so it's a little bit cheeky, that one.
I bet they don't have too many billabongs. They don't make too many referral to billabongs in...
We don't call them billabongs in America, but we have the same kind of thing in the desert. We do have lots of springs, you know, so it's a very similar thing, you know. It's stinking hot outside. It's really dry. All you want to do is you know, rip the gear off and jump in, pretty much.
I just look forward to Jen going back to see a family and just walk along and say, we should go for a dip in the billabong.
They're going to be like,
in the what? Well, you've been gone too long, girl.
101.5 FM, Tracy and the Big D. On a Thursday night in the studio, our guest tonight is the beautiful Jen Myers. We're going through the album, having a bit of a chat about some of the singles, and of course tonight after Nick Irby it will be featured on Back to Back, Track to Track, or
That's
Track to Track,
That's so exciting. That's the coolest thing. as an artist, I was talking to my friend in the car on the way over, and I was like, they're going to play the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's the coolest thing.
What happens is a lot of the albums, like you've got 12 tracks on this album, and a lot of albums you might hear 1, 2, 3, or even up to 5 singles off the album. But there's some absolute crackerjackers there that don't get that whole release thing out there, and it's very surprising. A lot of people say to us, I think we've been doing the back-to-backs for about 3 months now, something like that, and they go, oh my goodness, I didn't realise that these other songs were on out there, and they're just so good. Why aren't we hearing more and more of them? So the more we get them out, the more other people do get to hear them, because you can't say that you love every song on a whole album. But if a song that's being out there being played and you go, yeah, it's all right, then you're really not paying that much attention to the actual artist. But when you're hearing a couple more, all of a sudden you go, geez, I like that song.
Wait a minute,
person. Wait a minute, there's some talent.
Here we go.
Yeah, and all of a sudden,
And it's one of those things, I suppose, Jen, when you do, from personal experience, you put out an album and so forth, and there's an expectation that there'll be 3, 4, if you're lucky, there'll be 5 singles out of there.
Yeah.
But the album could be genuinely a top-class album, and for whatever reason, whether it's for marketing reasons, for what's going to get airplay, they're the songs that are chosen, and then these bits of gold, these gems, are destined just for the people that have got hold of the album, and if someone hasn't bought it or whatever, they don't get to sample it, do they? We really don't get to hear them, do we?
Yeah, it's a shame, and I think I got my first introduction to that. I had a family friend give me Joni Mitchell's Hits and Misses when I was 16, which is a double CD set. And one is all the hits, and the other is all the misses. And I fell in love with the misses. I fell in love with the things that were never, big hits, like Case of You and Magdalene Laundries and Amelia. And I was like, wow, it's too bad. And I think for the most part we get 3 or 4, maybe 5 singles if you're lucky. I think everybody wants to. Like the machine says, oh, you need to move on. This isn't new anymore. You need to put out something. Well, it's new to most people's ears. All those other tracks that don't get heard.
New album. You go, well, I've
You're like,
heard the whole.
What about these other 7 tracks that are that might be very cool? So yeah, you guys playing a whole album. That's such a treat.
Here's a little bit of trivia for you.
Okay.
Don Gibson, great American songwriter from the early days, had "Oh Lonesome Me" as one of his I think it was his first hit, and the B-side of that record was "I Can't Stop Loving You."
Oh,
really? Oh my gosh!
Yeah. There you go. Look at that. Yeah,
that's a huge hit.
Yeah, and that was the B-side, and of course Ray Charles did amazing things with that. But yeah, that was the B-side from there.
Wow.
So wouldn't you love to be the record producer who decided, that's just a B-side?
Yeah, that's a B-side. I wouldn't put that on the front.
That's the thing is it's also about people's opinions, and opinions are varied. My mama always told me life is like Baskin Robbins. There's 31 flavors. Everybody's got a different opinion, So, one person's going to like one thing and another person's going to like something else. I mean, I'm not expecting people to listen to my work and go, even though I'm incredibly proud of it, and go, oh my gosh, every single thing is amazing. If they like 3, I've done my job. 3 out of 12, I'm like, woo.
That's right, yeah.
That's an amazing strike rate, though, isn't it? When you consider it that way, 3 out of 12 is just remarkable. There'll be plenty of albums out there that don't get past the first single for a record company looks and says, sorry, we didn't get enough airplay, it wasn't taken to. And the one that was destined for second or third may have absolutely been the gold. And
that's exactly right. And you never know when you sit down with producers and people in charge, and they say, well, I think this, and then release this and that. There's really no formula. There's no specific answer that says, oh, if I release this song second, it'll get more traction and da-da. It's really a roll of the dice. So you just have to write the best possible songs you can possibly write at that time. Produce it the best way you can produce it. Use the best musicians you can within budget, and then put yourself out there as much as you possibly can, I guess.
The music industry is very fickle as well, and in regard to that, when Lady Antebellum first came along, they were fresh and new, and now you can look around and see how many Lady Antebellum style bands and groups are out there. Taylor Swift was tapped into something that was new. Have a look at the people that are doing something like Taylor Swift. And it's almost like the music industry, in some respects, goes, well, I'm sorry, you're too new an individual. We can't have you. Come back when you're more like Taylor Swift.
Well, and then that's the thing is, what's funny is they like you get into this, oh, we want you to be more like this, and you're going, well, why don't I just be the first me?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like the Taylor Swift second, third, fourth round, they fade away eventually. Taylor's going to have a forever name. I would rather be the first Gen Mize and then have some other people try to copy me a little bit. That would be awesome.
Well
Here. I love that because I'm all about people singing with their own voice, you know. We've got one Casey Chambers. We don't need any more.
That's
We've
right.
got one Taylor Swift. We don't need any more.
We do say that a lot because we go around to a lot of the festivals where they have a lot of competitions and we see a lot of the young ones, the up-and-coming ones coming through, and you know, you can hear them sing one song and you go, wow, that is just a completely individual voice. And then all of a sudden, they'll sing a Casey Chambers or a Willie Nelson or whoever they be, and all of a sudden, they're not using their voice. And you go, oh, dear, you've got the most amazing voice, just be you.
It's really hard because to learn to sing, you learn through imitation, and then you have to turn the imitation off. You have to say, okay, now I have to find myself. I mean, it took me a while to find myself. I did all kinds of different styles of music, and these days I think that's great because there's very little I don't feel like I can hang with or sing. But it took me a while to find my actual voice, not just as a songwriter, but to get my voice as a songwriter and my voice as a singer in alignment and having them, you know, they're parallel each other so that it's easily understood by people and they're like, oh, I get that. That's it. It's finding yourself takes a while.
We might play another song, and then we'll come back and we're going to ask you the magic 4 questions. Are you ready for the magic 4 questions?
I don't know how prepared I am, but
the only time you get to be, oh yes, you have been. I was going to say it has been multiple
It's
times.
never for the first time on the radio station.
Oh,
You've got to have been
goodness.
interviewed on the station before, which you have.
Yes.
So now you get to answer the 4 magic questions.
ooh, I'm excited now.
But we're going to talk about this song after it as well. We'll have a chat what this is all about.
Absolutely.
Because we want to know what the Biscuits and Gravy is about.
Yeah.
Here's Jen Myers, Biscuits and Gravy.
Do you know what I'm thinking about? Remember the movie Rhinestone? Remember Rhinestone? Dolly Parton, Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Dolly Parton
Rhinestone,
was
like Rhinestone
Cowboy, not
Yeah.
Rhinestone. Rhinestone Cowboy.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. And you've got half of it right.
Like a rhinestone cowboy.
I thought it was just called Rhinestone. No, the movie was just called Rhinestone. Yeah, it was. No, the movie was called Rhinestone.
Well,
Yeah,
maybe it was released as Rhinestone over here in Australia.
Yeah, the movie where Dolly Parton had to turn Sylvester Stallone into a singer, right? And she takes him back home, and she abuses him because he's not eating his biscuits and gravy correctly. Remember, she says, "No, if you're going to be a real Southerner, you got to put your biscuit in the gravy." I got other plans for my biscuit.
Well, we're not going to mess with you, Mr. Stallone.
Oh, yes. I just thought that was a great movie.
That's right, because he come out in his pants with
Trying to take the typical Brooklyn boy and turn him into a cowboy.
Remember all the actual rhinestones on all the shirts and stuff, and the fringe hanging down, and
he had to sing, and they said, "This
Darren
is
used to have a white stage outfit with rhinestones on it, didn't you?
We're not here to talk. We're not here to talk about me. Nobody wants to talk about me. It's time to do the magical quiz to find out a little bit more about our guest Jen Myers. So we're going to start with your favourite football team.
Well, since I moved to Australia, I have to go the Broncos because I live in Brisbane. But I love NRL. I have become a huge fan. My husband's originally from New South Wales, so he goes Blues and I go Maroons.
Boo the Blues.
And that's interesting in our house.
Lovely.
And everybody at work, gives him a hard time as well because he's really the only blue in the office ever. I have to congratulate him for sticking to his guns, though. He moved to Townsville when he was 6, and has stayed blue his whole life. So that's loyalty. But for me, my favorite just team is the Boston Red Sox.
The Boston Red Sox.
I went to school in Boston, right around the corner from Fenway Park, and so I'm a big baseball Boston Red Sox girl. That's my team.
That's your team.
Yeah.
All right. Now, That'd probably be one of the most famous outside of Yankee Stadium. Fenway Park would probably be the most that anyone could say, most people, and say, I know Fenway Park. And that was the one featured in Field of Dreams too, wasn't it? Fenway Park, yeah, the big green doors, yeah.
Yeah, was it the big green monster? There you go.
Yeah,
there you go. It's been a long time since I've seen Field of Dreams, but yeah.
Movie buff at the moment.
Yeah. Well, like Boston's really known for the curse of the Great Bambino until 2004. Babe Ruth had left the Boston Red Sox to join the Yankees, and Boston never won the series again until 2004. It was like the longest losing streak in the history. So Boston fans are die hard. We are forever behind our team.
Right. That's why we were watching some show a couple of weeks ago, and they were Boston fans, and they weren't even game to look at Yankees. I didn't know what it was all about.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you a funny story. My little brother came to visit me in uni in Boston, and he was 13, and he got on the T, which is our subway train, above ground and underground, and he was wearing one of those cute little, like, canary yellow Yankees hats. It was brand new. The T driver kicked him off the train. He's like, you either get off this train or you take off that hat, young man. We don't wear those hats here. Like, that's Boston.
That's what that show was like. Yeah, she really was.
Yeah, it was crazy. I can't remember, but I just know they said, no, it's the curse. And I didn't know what the curse was.
The curse of the Great Bambino. It's an age-old rivalry. Yes.
See, we're learning. This is a very educational show tonight, Tracing the Big D. With you till 8 o'clock tonight, live in the studio, we have the beautiful Jen Mai.
So now we move on to food. Favourite food, Jen?
Ooh, well, we just played biscuits and gravy, which is basically a list of some of my favorite foods. I love fried pickles. Those are amazing. You take a dill pickle and you bread it and you fry it, and it's like an appetizer. Yep. You don't eat a lot of it. And you dip that in ranch dressing. Sounds disgusting. Tastes amazing.
There we go.
Deep fried pickle.
Deep fried pickles.
Deep fried pickles.
There you go. Beautiful. And so that's one, and recommend everyone to try a deep fried pickle.
Yeah, especially if you're in the South, that's probably the only place you'll find it. It's in outside of Nashville and around any place in the South in America. But I definitely recommend it.
So, do you still have you made deep fried pickles yourself?
Oh yeah, here.
So you make them here, and do you still make your biscuits and gravy? And what about the griddles?
I make biscuits and gravy. I don't do grits. It's hard to find the right material to do grits. It's more like really all you can find here is polenta, and that's not exactly it.
Right.
But I do cornbread and fried green tomatoes and bananas Foster and all that kind of southern stuff. And barbecue.
Well done.
Yeah, got a Weber. Do the full-on barbecue. Yeah.
Getting hungry now. We move on to the next question, which is a song you wish you had have written.
Oh, gosh. Whew.
That's a hard one, I reckon. I reckon that's probably the hardest one out of all 4 questions, this one, because there's so many good songs out there.
I'll say this. It's one of my favorite songs, and I've been listening to it a lot lately. It's the old Sam Cooke tune, What a Wonderful World. The one that says, don't know much about history, don't know much biology. It's just one of those songs that I can never hear it and not feel good.
Yep.
Like it's the ultimate pick me up. It's like a cup of coffee. That song. It does it to everybody. So yeah, I think
and it's been covered so many times. It's just a brilliant song.
It's just a brilliant song. Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's not. There's
good choice.
There's no one lyric that's like, wow, this is the best lyric ever. It's just all over, just a feel good, but not cheesy. Like that's really hard to do, to make a feel good song that's not writing that here I'm being a cheesy line. It's really genuine and feel good. So yeah.
And timeless.
Timeless.
Probably really
that's exactly it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it, Darren. Yeah.
Because that'd date back to the late 50s or early 60s.
Yeah,
Sam
something
Cooke?
like that. Yeah.
And of course, we then come to the last question, which is a piece of advice for 13-year-old Jen Mize.
Oh, Jen.
Oh, poor Jen.
Oh, Jen. Well, Jen, all the boys that bullied you will then come a-knocking.
Oh, yes.
They will. All the boys that gave you a hard time when you were 13 because you were skinny and tomboyish and willowy, give it about 6 years, darling.
Beautiful.
Love
I love
that
it.
one. Well
and
done.
thanks for being a good sport for playing along.
Easy
That's
done.
brilliant.
Easy done. My pleasure.
That's brilliant. We played the song before, Biscuits and Gravy, and clear, because some people will be sitting back and going, biscuits, because biscuits in the
Cookies.
States aren't what we call biscuits
Right.
here. You call them cookies in the States.
Yeah.
So biscuits more like a dry sort of a bread roll. Is that
It's actually like a savory buttermilk scone, if that makes any sense. So it'll be really, really flaky and buttery, but savory, no sweetness. And then the gravy that we put on biscuits and gravy is you take sausage, like pork sausage with fennel, brown that with onion, and then you do a roux, which is when you put a little bit of flour over the top of that, let that flour cook down. Then you pour milk in like you were making a bechamel sauce almost. And then you let that cook down, and then you pour that over the savory scone biscuit. I mean, it's the kind of food that sticks with you all day. But it's the kind of food that was cheap in the South during the Great Depression, and it was easy to make for a whole bunch of people at once. Everybody went out and worked on the farm and all that, and it sustained you. I wouldn't suggest having biscuits and gravy and then go sitting on the couch all day.
No.
It'll put you in a food coma if you don't get up and get moving. But it's so
but
good.
a real comfort food too.
A real comfort food.
Yeah.
Very, very much comfort food, yeah.
Beautiful. So that's the background behind biscuits and gravy.
I know.
So there we go.
I want some.
All right.
I'm starving. I'm ready
I'm
for
starving
dinner.
now. I'm ready for dinner now. I'm going home having biscuits and gravies.
And
I'm gonna.
deep-fried
I might even
pickles.
try deep fried pickles, and I'm gonna have it all.
Pickles,
Fantastic.
they probably would be.
This is very tasty.
What's next? What are we up to?
Well, we're going to play.
I'm locked down in the other room here too, by the way.
Where you should be. He's actually looking through the window. Should take a photo and pop that up as well. I was going to do Burn Slow, but you put me back into the mood for Ghost Town. Where
Okay.
you're talking about, the tumbleweed and things like that. So tell us a little bit about Ghost Town.
Okay, well, Ghost Town is very much inspired by my dad. My dad grew up in a town called Pioche, Nevada, which is definitely a ghost town these days. I think there's about 40 to 60 people that live there now. It's an old mining town.
And what was the name of the place again?
Pioche.
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 Okay,
Pioche. And, I mean, we used to go on little, like, camping adventures and things like that, and we'd all go see the house that he lived in, and it was like, a shanty kind of thing. So I was thinking about ghost towns in general and thinking about my dad, and I thought about how, it's the kind of thing where it's a boom thing. It's easy money. It's quick and easy, and everybody moves there really quickly, and they put all their hopes and dreams into one place, and for some it works out, and for some it may not. And it's kind of the metaphor of putting all your eggs in one basket and seeing what you get kind of thing. We did a video for this one that we'll release soon in a place called Bodie, California. It's right on the Nevada-California line, and it's an actual ghost town in America that everyone just picked up and left in about 1945, and it's now a national park. And I encourage you to Google Bodie, California, and look at the photos. It's amazing.
Wow. Well, let's have a listen to it now. And then I've got a very good question. Well, I think it's a very good question following this song. Here it is, Jen Myers and Ghost Town.
101.5 FM, Tracing the Big D on a Thursday night. Our special guest in the studio is Jen Myers, finding a little bit out about what it's like to grow up down in the deep south.
Well, the question that I said before, that I have a question coming back into this, is we listen to your album and we listen to the songs, and you're sort of taking us to a certain place where you've been in that. So when your family first hear those songs, or the ones that are back home, are they hearing what you're singing? So when you're singing, say, These Woods, or what was the one with Cottonwood
Grove, yeah.
Cottonwood Grove, are they straight away knowing exactly where you are when you're singing? Do they know?
I think they get it. I think they get it pretty quickly. The family that I used to go visit in Tennessee when I was a kid, they all lived with, their house was back on the woods in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And, they all know it. Once they heard the song, they were all like, oh, that's exactly it. Yeah. And then, when we released the video, we just put it up last week, 2 weeks ago, something like that. Mm-hmm. It's going on CMC pretty soon, so
These Woods we're talking about.
These Woods. It's the kind of place, as soon as you get the visual, then it all kind of clues in. And so I got a mandolin off eBay, and like in a week and a half wrote that song, because it took me there. Like, just the sound of the instrument took me there. And as soon as I started playing this little melody, I was like, I'm in Tennessee woods. Okay, what are the Tennessee woods to me? They're kind of haunting, And there is a smoky. The Smoky Mountains are called the Smoky Mountains for a reason. Like all during the afternoon, the cloud comes in and fog happens. And it's smoky and eerie. So, a song about a younger brother dying in a cabin fire and kind of haunting this hollow where she used to live, and didn't seem too far-fetched. It kind of took me to that story. And that's not happened to me or anyone I know. Yeah. But it's just, sometimes the place is that strong that it can give you a vibe by just, imagining you're there.
And looking at the, and also I think when we sort of listen to a song and we're looking at the video, it can mean so many different things. And when you watch this one here, a lot of people, when you're looking through those woods, like, halfway through it, I'm thinking, you're part of that looks a bit like my old backyard when we used to swing through the trees. You can see some old vines hanging from some of those old trees in that video, and you think, I could take myself to that area, but put it into my own backyard. So it's very, it's beautiful. You haven't seen it
just
yet?
Listening to
Big D's a shopper at looking at videos.
Just listening to Jen, then listening to all of the places there. I was painting the picture. I had Alan Jackson singing Chattahoochee. Did you say Chattahoochee then?
Well, Chattanooga, but...
Chattanooga.
Yeah.
All right, Chattanooga. Now I've got Johnny Cash singing Chattanooga City Limit Signs.
Yes.
I had Dolly Parton singing In Her Tennessee Mountain Home.
Which would be exactly right.
And I had Ronnie Millsap singing about somewhere in the Smoky Mountain Rain.
Yeah.
So all of these things coming from exactly the same as you're talking about, these things that just inspire people from there. So
yeah, they do. They're incredible. And the place where we shot the video is actually just really inspiring in and of itself. Like, I had gone there probably three years ago. It's right around the corner from where my parents retired in Mount Pleasant, Tennessee. And it's the Stillhouse Hollow Falls State Park. And it's an old moonshine still. Like, so you walk down this hollow, which is where what we call a really deep valley that's like close feeling. And then you walk down this hill, and here's this beautiful creek, and here's this old house that they used to make moonshine in, and it just had this really haunting, eerie feeling. And I'm like, yeah, that definitely played a part in writing the song. And then we got to go back to the place that helped to inspire it. So it was, yeah.
Oh, magic moments.
Magic
moments. Now,
it really was.
Now, if someone wants to get a hold of these magic moments, where do they, the album itself,
the album itself hasn't been released yet.
Okay.
But you can go to jenmize.com, which is JENMIZE.com, and there's a free download of this next song, These Woods. Get that, and just keep in touch. And I've got a whole YouTube site where I probably put up new content every 2 weeks. So there's always a new video coming up. There's always more stuff, and you can find me on Facebook and Twitter and all that social media. You can find me on Pinterest, because I'm one of those girly girls who likes Pinterest. So
everywhere.
I'm trying to do my job and get the music out there. That's the thing.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about, is to get the music out there and let people hear what this beautiful gift that you've got, and the gift to the world of this beautiful voice and beautiful stories.
And of course, tonight we've only been able to feature a few songs, but straight after Nick Irby, we do have our back-to-back track-to-track section. And of course, tonight we are featuring Jen Mize and the album Fear, Pride, and A Few Stubborn Angels.
You did it.
I did, because I forgot the A last time, but I was in there this time. So that is, we're going back-to-back, so right from track 1 all the way through. Please, if you can, stick around and have a listen to this fantastic album, and get on and have a look at the YouTube. Get onto jenmize.com, download that free song, because I can tell you now, it will be not one of the songs. It will be a lot. You'll be able to get that album out as soon as it's released. It'll be out there.
It'll be out there. I'll be letting you know. And if you sign up to the newsletter, I can let you know really quickly. Or follow me on Facebook. You'll know the next day.
How good is that?
Brilliant. Jen, it's been fantastic catch up with you. Time is on the wing now. Nick Irby's knocking on the door, ready to take over. But we're going to go. We're going to play this. We're going to play this last song. Jen, thanks for coming in. Thanks for sharing this with us. And as you said, you can get on the website and find out. Subscribe to the newsletter, and then you'll be the first to know. 101.5 FM. We're down to Broadbeach tomorrow and back next week.
Woo.
See you guys.
I am. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be watching Mustard Courage for sure. I love those guys. They're such nice dudes and amazing music.
They are cool. And of course, big thank you to Paul Catteroy and also to Gail O'Neill, who joined us earlier in the night.